In this little clip, I'm just going to very quickly run through how you can create this beautiful recessed seam. It's dead easy to do, so let's get started. And we're going to have a little quick look here before I start at this beautiful little hem I've got down here. It literally is that you join the two different fabrics you've got and then you push in the lower layer, so it looks like she is wearing something underneath it and it just peeps out, and it's just overlocked together here. So it's very simple. I would say use a whole width of whatever fabric you're using, whether that's quilting cotton or some chiffon like I'm using here. I think that crepe georgette is really nice as well. So here you can see that I've now pinned on the little frill that I'm using. It just goes to the edge, and I've used gather threads obviously to hold all my gathers in place, and I've seamed it just on one side, and I can now sew it on. It's very important you use the triple stitch, which gives any of the seams the ability to stretch, so you need to make sure that you do that, and then we're just going to tack it in like that. I've hemmed my chiffon actually before I sewed it together because that's easier. I went all the way around with this tiny little hem, and now I can just sew it. It's done now. So at this point you remove your gather threads, because when you're overlocking this seam, what you want to do, you want to stretch it, and you couldn't stretch it while those gather stitches are still in there. Now you can see I've overlocked it. There's still all the stretch in it without it looking, you know, stretched and bulky and horrible. So now comes the moment where I can just push in my seam. So you just move up the seam until you got about 2 centimeters on this side standing. And I would suggest that you do this on the ironing board, maybe a bigger ironing board than I'm using here, but yeah, this makes it easy to do because you've got a surface that you can put it on. And I'm just pushing it up, and then it's up to you whether you want to iron it or whether you just want to pin it. In my case, I decided that I just wanted to pin it. And I just want to say a word about the fabric that I've used. That chiffon is a very cheap chiffon I got from the market, and if I had the choice of a different lightweight fabric, I probably wouldn't have used chiffon. I would have used crepe georgette, and the difference is that the chiffon that I've used is, like, I would say almost like flat. It's very cheap. If you have a crepe georgette, what that does, it's slightly crinkly, so that makes it easier to work with, and it also has more ability to move. It's even kind of a little bit stretchy because you almost have like tiny mini pleats in it. So crepe georgette is my preferred choice for a top like this, but sometimes you just come across a fabric, you think it's so cute, I'm going to use it. So I'm pinning it all the way around, and once that is done, I'm going to sew this, and I'm going to sew it on the height of my overlocking in this area here, right, just on the edge. But because I don't want to sew from the inside, because the underside of my stitching usually turns out to be really bobbly, I'm going to stitch it from the outside, and that means that my stitch will look really even, and I'm stretching it slightly as I go along. You can put some embellishments on if you like. It doesn't really need it, but you could do it. I thought with the polka dots, I didn't really want to confuse it with something else. So in the end, I decided to just put a bow on made with the same chiffon. I hope you're suitably inspired, and I can't wait to see yours.